How much can you truly do to make a change?
A lot. In 14 years, I've changed my city. 14 years ago, my city had crime that was 63% higher. We built 7,500 units of housing. We require 10% of those housing units to be affordable. We've added jobs. We grew a population. What I'm trying to say is, what I would like to do for the state of Connecticut is something that I've done for the last 14 years. And by the way, my city was headed in the wrong direction. I defeated an incumbent Republican on the basis that I was going to change the direction of the city. So first change. How about telling the truth? How about proposing a budget that's in balance from day one? You know, this governor did one of the most disingenuous things I've ever seen. She went on, I don't really remember, because it's now like back in early February. She goes on TV on Monday night and announces basically there's an $8 billion budget deficit. And 2 days later, she proposes a budget that addresses $6 billion of that, and she calls it balanced. And newspapers around the state fell all over themselves to give her praise for balancing the budget without raising taxes. Well, listen, I could go back to my city and ignore $100 million in expenses, right? And not tax for them and say I balanced the budget. Anybody can do that. So first of all, let's tell the truth. Let's have real leadership and real dialogue. I mean, I'm watching this train wreck in the legislature. You know, the Democrats and the Republicans in the House and the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate, they all think they're right. The governor refuses to talk to them. There's no negotiation taking place. Let me tell you something I did in the last 8 weeks. My Board of Finance cut my budget very significantly. And it would have required 84 to 100 layoffs. You know what I did? I got everybody around the table, 11 different bargaining units, and we renegotiated the contract for the year. And we don't have one layoff this year. And we're saving people money. And we didn't give away the store in the future. I mean, you have to understand that we need a governor who actually wants to govern, who wants to be there every day, who wants to talk to people every day, who wants to get out and speak to people in communities. I don't know when the last time the governor was here and had a conversation with you, but she's never come to Stamford and had a conversation with me. And before that, John Rowland didn't either. There's this disconnect between Hartford and the rest of us. And we've got to reconnect people. We've got to be in this together. There's got to be shared sacrifice in a time of great despair. But that's got to be led by the governor. Stop playing games that we can cut our way out of it. It's going to be cutting. It's going to be some raising, unfortunately. That's the reality. Let's have a truthful discussion. I would also hold people accountable. I mean, this governor watched a project in New Haven go from $300 million to $1.2 billion. In the summertime, she acknowledges that at a press conference, but later, when somebody picks up on it and writes about it, she pretends she didn't know about it. This is the governor who presided over the '84 debacle, where they built a drainage system that didn't even connect to the drains. This is the governor who presided over the reconstruction of Route 7, you know, Danbury down to my part of the state. They moved the design of the road. They spent millions of dollars to move the design of the road, because they thought it was salamanders crossed there. You know what? No one had read the map. It didn't have to be done to begin with. So what would I do? I'd show up. I'd hold people accountable. If people made mistakes like that, I'd say, thank you very much. It's time to go. I'd lead by example. I'd bring people together to get the job done. You know, this doesn't have to be rocket science. Other states are doing it. All you have to do is read about it and initiate those kinds of changes in our state. I'll tell you one. You know, Massachusetts is in a pretty big debacle as far as their budget, just like we are. But they're setting aside $1 billion to attract bioscience and life science jobs to their state. 2 of the first companies they're taking, guess where they're coming from? So they're going to grow their tax base and their job base over the next 20 years on our backs. And what's our reply to it? Have you heard one? I haven't. So honestly, I think you have to suspend your disbelief. You have to actually believe that things could be better. Let me tell you, the people of Virginia believed things could be better when they elected governors who made changes. The people in the Carolinas believed that there was a future when they changed their direction. People in Georgia believe there's possibility when they correct their transportation problem. You know, Atlanta had the worst transportation in America 20 years ago. And they put money into it. And they built light rail systems. And they built systems out to their airport. And they built loops around the city. And all of a sudden, they don't have the worst transportation system in the country anymore, or the transit problem. You know, but we don't do that here. And the final thing I'll tell you is, I believe that if you're a governor or a mayor, you have to plan over a long period of time. Not just while you're governor, but to lay the seeds, lay the road, lay whatever you want to call it, for future growth. And that's something that hasn't happened. The last guy who had any real vision, the last Democrat who had any real vision in this state was Bill O'Neill. You know, we had a crisis in transportation, and he solved our bridge problem. And he understood that we weren't just going to solve it by patching the ones that were worse today. We had to rebuild the ones so that they'd last for 25, 30, or 35 years. Leadership, leadership, leadership.